What I'm planning to reveal today to you is the mobile visitor center that is seated on the chair over there. And I'm investigating the types of relationships and the way that these relationships can maybe become more positive relationships instead of the kind of destructive, negative relationships that one often has with little things around the home. In the many conversations that I had leading up to the visitor center with many different people, one of the conversations I had was with a taxonomist who works with wasps. And when they go out into the field to collect the wasps, they have a big box like this, and a branch gets put inside, and they wait to see what will come out. So they will go towards the light and they will fall into the tube, and then you can kind of get them, spike them, and study them. So my object to think with is that there's another way which does not have a tube attached, and that perhaps the wasp then chooses whether to sacrifice itself for research or just get out of there. So with insects, we tend to keep thinking of them, the ant colonies and so on, as not having intelligence, as being kind of mechanized to some degree. So for me, this kind of just puts that object in that space where if wasps can have choices, then how do we treat them then?
Oh, migratory medicine. So the ants are migratory insects.
Maybe that's to keep them there.
Well, for me, they were staying in a place where I didn't really want them to stay. So I thought if they have medicine that I could give to them, which would make them want to migrate a little bit further.
Maybe like Hansel and Gretel, you know, the breadcrumbs track goes there.
Because it's for me quite cruel that the ants, when they take poison, they have to take it into their homes and die there.
We fumigate our homes indiscriminately. We don't
kill everything.
We kill everything.
Our easiest or first choice shouldn't just be the doom spray. It should be a respect for all other species.
But we have choices. But we remove theirs.
I have a tape measure, but that measures a spider's legs. And maybe it's about, not Spider-Man, and maybe it's about trying to think about, smaller things and understanding the world from that perspective.
Yeah. And I called it comfortable distance TM, because you can measure the comfortable distance between you and the small spider.
And then that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking, what is the comfortable distance between what? Because if there was something very dangerous standing here, I'm not comfortable at that then.
I got a lock without a key. Not having a key, you would think it would be useless, but it's got quite a few little reservoirs and locations, and if you've ever been in the bush, you'll know that a spider or a hoho will quite happily live in there. And then I think it's also quite a beautiful object in the fact that it's got quite a bit of weight to it, so it could probably offer them quite a lot of security. Like we know, we like our walls to, you don't want to hear the neighbors and things like this, but the thickness here and the boldness of the actual object is quite robust, so I feel like it would offer some real homeliness to someone. Yeah.
Mine is a frog.
Yeah.
And the first word struck me as Platon.
Squash.
Yeah, so it sort of said squish. But then it turned it around and says, me. So that was my first response, is a poor frog. And he's actually expressing it. He's not happy.
As a sangoma would maybe throw the bones, or a magician would kind of bring out the tricks. It's like the visitor center's in this bag, and then it's kind of like it's revealed like this.
It's a reveal. Yeah.
Eric was talking about the fact that the word center is so, it's kind of something that makes you think you can just come in and then go again. Whereas if it's maybe a shrine, the shrine would give you a sense of maybe taking your shoes off and having a kind of spiritual connection to it. Yeah. We moved into a house where there's a lot of daddy longlegs in the space that is now my studio. Well, those are spider onesies. So when they grow, they unzip it and they climb out, and then they go bigger, and then the next time they unzip it. And I call them spider pants. There's an agreement that I have with the spiders. They can live there in the studio, but they must provide me with their spider pants. So I can make artwork because I'm making videos with it. I want to hand out pieces of paper where I want to collect your anecdotes about a particular species, whether it's a snake or a spider or an ant or something, and I want to have a whole collection of these stories.
A simple cut. We started a big conversation. Rather than looking at a spider, I'm starting to see other things that start conversations that people relate more to what they see.
How does a person remove something like a spider? Do they take a matchbox? How do we create a new home? How do we relocate these animals which we may think are impossible to live with? But
I think in South Africa what makes conservation or what makes these kind of discussions difficult is everyone comes with their own cultural beliefs and different ways of accessing species and thinking about nature and thinking about our place in nature and so on.
I suppose us being here in this environment, in amongst the grass, with critters crawling around us, and the hot sun and the leaves and whatever, we are affected in a particular way because of all of those sensory things.
I haven't in my paintings included insects, maybe a few animals, yes, but not insects really. And I see them. This project has magnified them. To me, they're a big size now. I can sort of relate to them and I can include them in my work.
Because all these issues is about cognizance, you see. And we don't have a lot of cognizance centers. And that's why it's absolutely important that this thing should, they are vehicles of education. Because when you grow up in such an energy conscious level, how you bring up children becomes very, very different.
So there's this kind of, in the Middle Ages, they used to write letters to animals. When animals committed a crime, say if a dog would steal a chicken, then the dog would be tried as it's committed a crime. And there were all these letters that have been collected from the Middle Ages of how people try to communicate to animals. And I wanted to bring that into the visitor centre because I think if we can have these kind of quirky or kind of funny ways of trying to communicate to insects and spiders and rodents and reptiles, and attempt to kind of make find a place where we can.
Because I feel there's us in them and them in us.
Nicola, I think what's interesting with what you're saying is also being interspecies relationships and companionship. It's also, if we want to control something like mosquitoes, it's not just, I like your ethics and your approach. It's not just resorting to poison, but also resorting to alternatives. And besides for just using something like the homeopathic, there's also realizing what plants you can plant on your windowsill. It's lavender, which prevents mosquitoes from entering the room. So it's just about us understanding that it's not the and to get the message across more directly. So I think it's those interesting relationships that we seem to have lost in our move to drastic or chemical means. We've forgotten about how we as humans have always understood and had a relationship to interspecies and understanding from a very basic level, whether it was the sand or whoever we were originally, just to understand that we worked together, we lived with these plants, and they were our first resort before we came to poison.
Tying with what you said with the interest of relationship. There's a sort of event that happened in the Knysna forest. They had these red lilies, and the lilies were dying out. And what they realized is they were sort of the bush sort of pigs, and they would sort of stomp over the lilies, which in essence was sort of killing them. And so what they do is they sort of decided to get together, and they got fences that they put around the lilies to protect the lilies not to have the sort of pigs trample over them. And after a year or two, the lilies had completely died. Because what happens is if the pigs trample over them, they actually loosen up the ground and they sort of further the life cycle. So by trying to help and protect the lilies, they were doing more harm than good. So it's also sort of being knowledgeable about what is really going on and really understand it and not to be ignorant. Okay, fine, yes, we can sort of build a fence around this, or yes, we can introduce this species, but how is it going to react again to the environment? What sort of other effects will it have? Like, to sort of really do your research and your homework and to check. Like, I'm not saying that you didn't, like, I'm just really bringing it up as an interesting point.
Honestly speaking, I've never seen art like this. To me, art was just a painting and there was no story behind it. And from what we've started from last week when I have conversations with you, I'm starting to see spider webs. There's something else.
It's about getting people to talk about something, getting people maybe to think about it slightly differently, and then you can come with all your knowledge and expertise to kind of fill in all the gaps that I have left. And I have been speaking to some of the healers that also come to Tuahing. There's such a wealth of things to kind of touch on and to kind of investigate that I don't think I can give all of that sort of the equal presence in what I'm doing, but I think it is important to refer back to that also within different cultures, because